Shri Vishnu Sahasranama. Name 838, Bhayanashanah. Started discussing this name in the last session, Bhayakrit, because the two names are very much linked, although in one way they're opposite. Bhayakrit means who makes fear, and Bhayanashanah means he who destroys fear. But they're linked on the subject of fear. Krishna is the destroyer of fear. Some of the commentators, they give this as one name, Bhayakrit, Bhayanashanah. Okay, let's discuss Bhayanashanah, he who destroys fear. Let's go right into Krishna's pastimes. Krishna is the destroyer of fear for his devotees, and in the Bhagavatam we have many instances of devotees feeling fear and Krishna dispelling that fear. Here's a verse from Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Krishna's Vrindavan Pastimes, chapter 13, text number 13, in which it has been described that the calves who the young boys were looking after, it was noticed that the young cowherd boys had sat down to eat, and suddenly they noticed that the calves were no longer in sight, and they became very afraid. What's happening with our calves? Then this verse, Tan drishva bhayasantrastan uche krishnasya bhi bhayam mitranyashan ma viramate hane shye vatsakanaham. When Krishna saw that his friends, the cowherd boys, were frightened, they were frightened for their calves. They're also frightened, you could imagine, little boys, they're sent out with the responsibility to look after the calves. What are they going to say to their fathers if all the calves are lost? So Krishna saw that his friends, the cowherd boys, were frightened, but he, who is the fierce controller of fear itself, just to mitigate their fear, said, "My dear friends, do not stop eating. I shall bring your calves back to this stop. I shall bring your calves back to this spot by personally bringing them back. I'll go after them myself." So Krishna left his friends eating. He said, "Don't worry, I'll get them." So Krishna went alone. And Krishna going alone facilitated the pastime of Brahma stealing the calves because they were missing. It wasn't just that they'd wandered off, but Brahma had stolen them, and he stole the cowherd boys. Also, Srila Prabhupada's purport to this verse, in the presence of Krishna's friendship, a devotee cannot have any fear. Krishna is the supreme controller, the controller of even death. Rakhe Krishna Mareke, Mare Krishna Rakeke. Srila Prabhupada would sometimes quote this Bengali saying, if Krishna protects someone, who can kill him? If Krishna wants to kill someone, who can protect him? So Krishna, the controller of even death, which is supposed to be the ultimate fear in this material world. Bhayang dvitiyabhiniveshata syat. Srila Prabhupada quotes this line from Bhagavatam, 11th canto, which I've quoted several times in the talk on Bhayakrit, meaning that this is the world of fear. Srila Prabhupada's purport continuing. This fear arises because of lack of Krishna consciousness, otherwise there cannot be any fear. For one who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, this material world of fear becomes hardly dangerous at all. Bhavam buddhi vatsapadang parang padang 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 yadvipadang natesham. bhavam buddhi, the material ocean of fear, becomes very easy to cross by the mercy of the Supreme Controller. This material world, in which there is fear and danger at every step, padam padam yad vipadam, is not meant for those who have taken shelter at Krishna's lotus feet. Such persons are delivered from this fearful world. And then Srila Prabhupada quotes the whole verse, which is from the next chapter of Bhagavatam. Samashritaye padapallava plavang mahat padang punya yasho murare bhavam buddhir vatsa padang parang padam padang padang yad vipadang natesham. Srila Prabhupada concludes this purport by saying, everyone therefore should take shelter of the Supreme Person, who is the source of fearlessness, and thus be secure. So the source of fearlessness, Srila Prabhupada in this purport describes Krishna as the source of fearlessness, which fits very well with the name Bhayanashanah, the destroyer of fear, which we're discussing. Notice that in this purport, Srila Prabhupada refers to this material world of fear. This world is characterized by fear, and that fits with the description in the Bhagavatam, which we just read. Padam padam yad vipadam nate. There's danger at every step. Nate sham, not for those who have taken shelter at Krishna's lotus feet. There's danger in this world. At any time, anything can happen. We don't know. We may be sitting very comfortably and there's an earthquake. We die on the spot. Or the government may suddenly take away the value of all of our money. That happened in several countries. I remember as a child, it was a big thing in England when the Labour government did devaluation of the pound, which just overnight, everyone, whatever money people had, became less valuable. Why is there danger at every step? Well, in one sense it's a perception, because everyone should take shelter of the Supreme Person who is the source of fearlessness and thus be secure, Srila Prabhupada says. Well, does that mean that if we chant Hare Krishna and take shelter of Krishna and dedicate our lives to Krishna, that there won't be danger? There's danger of the body getting, practically it's not even a danger, it's just an inevitability that we're all going to have to suffer the pangs of old age and, suffer the pain. We're going to be subjected to old age, we're going to be subjected to disease, we can be in accidents, road accidents, house accidents, cows, just outside this room, throughout the day there's so many cows grazing. Cows, they're generally quite peaceful, but you never know. Any time, especially when they're in heat, they get pretty moody. They could just gore you, and what to speak of scorpions and snakes. And in big cities, in the Western world especially, it's quite common that people just attack you with, whether they may shoot you or stab you or punch you with their fists for no particular reason except to have fun, violence, danger everywhere. So how can we say that we can be fearless at the lotus feet of Krishna? Well, the point is that a devotee does not identify with his body, and therefore he feels free from danger. That there's no real danger to me, because I'm not the body. Krishna also mitigates the suffering of devotees. Karmani nirjahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. Everyone in this world has to suffer the results of their activities, but Krishna minimizes that for the devotees. He doesn't completely remove it altogether. Otherwise there'd be no pure devotional service. If people would take to Krishna consciousness, they just think, oh, all of a sudden my financial worries are gone, my family worries are gone, my social worries are gone, my health worries are gone, everything on the chant Hare Krishna and boom, everything just changes overnight in my material situation. Sometimes people think that, and many people think that that's what religion is for. You pray to God and God gets you out of the hole you're in, gets you out of your financial mess and so on and so on. But that's up to Krishna. That's what surrender means. Maro bi rakho bi jo icha toha. Whatever you want to do, you can kill me, you can protect me, it's your desire. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, just outlining the process of Sharanagati, taking shelter of Krishna. Nityadasa pratitua adhika. He says, I've identified myself as your eternal servant, and it's your prerogative what you do with me. So an actual devotee doesn't expect or demand any particular alleviation of material suffering. Krishna may do. He may give more. He may give more than we expected. We sometimes find people come to Krishna consciousness and their material problems seem to increase. Especially because their family and friends don't like them, their old family and friends say, what happened to you? You changed. Yeah, I changed, it's great. Well, we don't think it's great. So their material problems, their family problems can increase because the other family members don't like it. So we have to see that Krishna removes fear when we don't identify with the situation we're in. That doesn't mean that we're oblivious to it. We have responsibilities within this world. As long as we're in this world, we have responsibilities to others. But at the same time, the devotee doesn't identify. He doesn't identify with his ego. A great fear that people have is of being ostracized, ignored, ridiculed. Much of what people do is to avoid pain to their ego. Oh, someone's looking at me. Oh, they have a bad intention toward me. Or over there some people are laughing. They're making fun of me. They're making jokes about me. This fear we have that maybe overrate ourselves, that every time someone's talking, they should be talking about me. Generally, we overrate ourselves. We're so afraid. We see that often happens. I just read an email today that a disciple of mine reported that her son, having gone to the Kami college, well, she told me he was going to go, and I said, no, it's not going to be good. He's going to get in bad association. How is he going to maintain his Krishna consciousness? Anyway, he went, and guess what? Now he eats meat, he has girlfriends, he doesn't identify as a devotee anymore. Why? Because he came under intense pressure when he joined the college. Why? Why don't you eat meat? Why don't you have girlfriends? Just, he didn't want to be ridiculed. We go along to get along, but taking to Krishna consciousness means savadhaman parityaja. Mamekam sharanam raja. May not be easy. Krishna didn't say it would be very easy, The process is easy to execute chanting Hare Krishna, but it's not easy in as much as we have to go against the current of the world. But this is the world of sin. Sin, it makes the whole atmosphere fearful. We're all doing nastinesses to each other. You have to withdraw from it. Stop all sin. I will deliver you from all sinful reaction if you surrender to me. Do not fear, Krishna says. Do not fear. So do not fear, I am capable of relieving your sinful reaction. And also do not fear. Do not fear the ostracism of the world, the criticism of the world. You're going to do it, surrender to me? Okay, surrender. That's it. Finish. Surrender. Even an initial stage of taking to Krishna consciousness, taking to Dharma, can save us from fear, as Krishna says much earlier in the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, Neha Vikramanashasti Pratyavayona Vidyate Swapanapyasya Dharmasya Trayate Mahato Bhayat. Trayate Mahato Bhayat means deliverance from great fear. Neha Vikramanashasti, whatever is done on this path of devotional service doesn't diminish. Pratyavayona Vidyate. Even a little performance of devotional service can save one from the most dangerous type of fear. Yes, if Krishna sees someone is taken to devotional service with sincerity, even if that person doesn't stay on the course in this life, then he's on the right path. Krishna's helping, Krishna's looking after, and Krishna will pull him back at some time. But that shouldn't be taken as an excuse to go away and mess up, because it may be an blink of time for Brahma or a blink of time for Vishnu. But that can mean many lifetimes in hellish suffering for us. So take it seriously. By following Krishna's instructions in Shastra, we are protected to a large extent from grossly sinful activities. There are rules in Shastra, how we should behave. There's a difference between piety, punya, and pap, sin. Nowadays, people don't care very much for that. They don't believe there's any such thing as sin. But there is. And although from the transcendental perspective, both punya and pap are entanglements in this material world, it is a fact that sinful activities lead to dreadful, horrific suffering, as we see in this world all around us. In Ukraine, for instance, at the present time, there's full-fledged war going on, people killing each other. It's not pleasant. Why do these things happen? Why don't people be more kind and more charitable toward each other? They don't have the fear of God. Or maybe they misuse the idea of yesterday, or in the previous talk, I was talking about the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. But that can be misused and say that both sides will say that God is on our side. We're fighting for the just cause. But as a general principle, if we follow in this verse, Swapamapyasya dharmasya, the word dharma is there. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. One who protects dharma by following the rules of civilized behavior as given in the Dharma Shastras, especially Manu Dharma Shastra. There are many others also. 20 principal Dharma Shastras. If we follow them, we'll be protected from gross sinful reactions. If we don't follow, we'll be punished. If we follow his orders, Krishna's orders, as given in scripture, Shastra, then we have no reason to fear. If we take shelter of Krishna, we have no reason to fear because we know we're on the right path and we are protected by Krishna. Then we become abhaya. We become fearless. Just like we see Srila Prabhupada was so bold. He was so fearless to go alone to an unknown country with no resources except his faith in Krishna. And that was enough for him. Abhaya, he didn't feel afraid. And he would preach very strongly. He wasn't afraid of being censored by others or criticized by others. He knew he was speaking the truth. He was fearless. Krishna will protect. He had that faith. So it's not just for Prabhupada. We're all supposed to be. The first of the godly qualities which Krishna enumerates at the beginning of the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, abhayam, fearlessness. It's not an easy thing in this world of fear where there's danger at every step. But if we take shelter of Krishna, Bhayanashanah, he destroys all fear. Even the name Bhayakrit, the previous name, what we can say is the obvious meaning, Bhayam karoti iti bhayakrit. One who causes fear is called bhayakrit. But there's another possible interpretation, Bhayam krintati iti bhayakrit. One who removes fear. It's possible that the previous name, Bhayakrit, can be interpreted to mean the same name as the present name we're discussing, Bhayanashanah, the destroyer of fear. So that can be done. But as there are two names next to each other, we take Bhayakrit generally to mean who makes fear, and Bhayanashanah, who destroys fear. Among the several commentators who comment on this name together, Parashara Bhatta is one. He gives Bhayakrit, Bhayanashanah as one name. And he explains that, yes, Bhagavan creates fear in those who transgress his orders, and he dispels fears in those who follow them. And a sub-commentator on Parashara Bhatta, Sri V.V. Ramanujan, gives Shastric evidence for these two interpretations from Mahabharata. Bhaya abhayam kara Krishna sarvalokeshvara prabhu. Exactly what the point that Parashara Bhatta makes. Lord Krishna is the one who causes fear in those who violate the commands of the Shastras and removes fear in those who obey the Shastric injunctions. That's not exactly what's said in the Sanskrit here. And then a very famous verse, at least it's very famous among people who study such things, from Ramayana, in which Lord Rama says, Sakrid eva prapannaya tavasmiti chayachate abhayam sarvabhutebhyo dadamye tadvatang mama. When Vibhishana came to surrender to Lord Ram on the seashore before the crossing to Lanka, Lord Ram said, to one who even once comes to me, surrendering, saying, Tavasmi, I am yours. He requests shelter from Lord Ram. Rama says, I am willing to give fearlessness to such a person. Fearlessness from everything and everyone, protection from everything. This is my vow. Quoting from the Divya Prabandhams, for his devotees and including the demigods, the devas, he is the surest protection. And just as surely for those with a demoniac disposition, he is sure death. Mrityu sarvaharashcham in Gita. In the form of death, I take everything away. He takes everything away from those who consider this is mine. For the devotees, they are akinchana. They have nothing in this world. They don't identify in anything with this world. So Krishna doesn't take anything away from that. Then more from the Pasurams of the Divya Prabandham. He keeps those who surrendered unto him under his feet for his protection. Abhay Charan, fearless lotus feet. And those that have not surrendered to him are not allowed anywhere near his feet. Quoting from Nrsimha Purana, I'm going to quote from Nrsimha Purana, a prayer that recorded that Lord Chaitanya, no, this is from Sridhasna. This is from Sridhar Swami's commentary on Bhagavatam. Lord Chaitanya quoted this when he approached the Lakshmi Varaha Narasimha temple at Simhachalam in Andhra Pradesh. You can still go there. These wonderful holy places in India, maintaining the culture of devotion up to the present day. So Lord Chaitanya spoke this verse. Ugropi anugra evayang svabhaktanam nrikeshari keshariva svapotanam anyesham ugra vikramaha. The lioness is very ferocious, very dangerous, very fearful, but she's very kind to her cubs. Similarly, although Lord Nrsimhadev is very ferocious to demons like Hiranyakashipu, he is very, very soft and kind to devotees like Prahlad Maharaj. From the Madhva Sampradaya, an explanation of these two names together, Bhayakrit Bhayanashanah. Abhayakrit Bhaktanam Abhayaprada. Bhayanashano Bhayaparihārakaha. Vishnu is the bestower of boons to the devotees. The boon of fearlessness. He's also the destroyer of fear in them. Therefore he is Abhayakrit Bhayanashana. So here Bhayakrit is being linked with Abhayam. It can be interpreted as Abhaya also. He makes Abhaya. He makes fearlessness for his devotees. Another understanding of this name given from the Madhva Sampradaya is that he can make fear even to his devotees, to put them on the proper path for their correction. If devotee is trying to be a devotee but he's not going properly, Krishna may make some fearful situation for him to get him back on the right path. This is what the Madhva, coming from the Madhva Sampradaya. And then he'll destroy their fear. When they turn to him, he'll destroy their fear. Even otherwise, we see in the case of Draupadi, she had to go through a very fearful situation with Dushasana, attempting to disrobe her. Krishna is the supreme controller of everything. He didn't have to let that happen, but sometimes he lets things happen for a certain purpose. And then he saved Draupadi. So she suffered fear, but that suffering caused her to intensely remember Krishna. And then Krishna removed her fear. Quoting from Sri Venkatesha Stotram, Srinidhi Sarvabhutanam Bhayakrit Bhayanashanah Sri Ramo Rama Bhadrascha Bhavabandhaika Mochakaha. He is Srinidhi, Venkatesh. He is the treasure of wealth for all creatures. He is Bhayakrit and Bhayanashana, the giver of fear as well as the destroyer. And then he is Rama, Rama Bhadra. Rama Bhadra means very nice Rama, very gentle, civilized, cultured Rama. And he is the one and only deliverer from the bondage of material life. Then another quotation. Agyano vartinam svasya bhayam nashayati saha bhayanashana ityukta. It's an explanation of Bhayakrit Bhayanashana. Same. Those who transgress his commands, he causes fear. And he destroys fear in those who obey his commands. Shankaracharya gives the same. Those who follow the wrong path, he causes fear to them. And he protects the devotees. That's for Bhayakrit. And then Satyadeva Vasishta supports this interpretation of the Bhayakrit, both the cause of fear and the destroyer of fear. He quotes from Rig Veda to support this. Dyava chidasmai prithivi namante shushma chidasya parvata bhayante yah somapa nichito vajra bahur yo vajra hasta Satjana sa indraha. Even heaven and earth bow down before him. Before his very breath, the mountains tremble. Known as the Soma drinker, armed with thunder, who wields the bolt. He, O men, is Indra. And then, extrapolating on this, Indra trembles before Krishna. And so Bhagavan is the taker of fear, or the maker of fear, for Indra, and then means Indra, all the gods, the demigods, so they function properly and perform their assigned duties, as stated in Taittiriya Upanishad, and there's a similar verse in Bhagavatam. Bhishasmad vata pavate bhishodeti suryaha bhishasmad agnish chandrascha mrityur dhavati panchamaha. The wind blows out of fear of him. The sun rises out of fear of him. Agni and Indra perform their functions due to fear of him. And so does death, the fifth one, run along doing his duty. Shankaracharya's interpretation for the name Bhayanashanah, stresses the importance of following Varnashram dharma. Varnashram acharavatam bhayanashyati iti Bhayanashanah. He says that one who follows Varnashram is freed of fear. In this sense, we can relate this to the swalpavapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. One who properly follows Varnashram is saved from the greatest fears. Now, it doesn't mean that by following Varnashram we're free from the cycle of birth and death, but if one acts piously, acting in Varnashram means to act piously, one will at least be saved from the great fear of grossly sinful reactions. Shankaracharya quotes from Vishnu Purana in this respect, Varnashramacharvata purushena parappuman Vishnu raradhyate panta nanya tatto shakaranam. Following the institution of Varnashram, those who follow the prescribed practices according to their station can please Vishnu. In fact, there's no other way to please him. Baladev Vidyabhushan, who we remember Bhayakrit, Baladev Vidyabhushan gave not completely, but a novel or a different understanding in Bhayakrit, that particularly he causes fear for those avoiding Krishna by expounding the path of mundane logic, and in this regard Baladev Vidyabhushan gives an example from the Mahabharata of a jackal who is speaking and said, I ended up as the jackal because I denied the existence of God, thinking I could understand everything through mundane logic. And in this name Bhayanashanah, Baladev Vidyabhushan says he drives fear away from those who refute the bad logic of the atheistic logicians. So let us take shelter of Krishna. Bhajahure mana Srinandanandana abhayacharnar vindare. O wicked mind, worship Srinandanandana, Krishna. Take shelter at his fearless lotus feet. Ancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Dante nitaya churnakam padayo nipatya kritvacha kakushatameta bravimi. Hey, sadhava sakala eva vihaya durad. Gauranga chandra charane kurutanuragaha. Parivadatu jano yata tatava nanumukaro navayang vicharayamaha. Hari rasamadira madati mata bhuvi vilotama nartama nirvishama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare